This conference will now be recorded.
Well, in the last class, we discussed about parameters and variables. So we use these parameters and variables to hide the hard-coded values inside the mapping or a session task. So mapping variable name starts with a $. Session variable name starts with a $. Okay, system variable $, but we never create system variables. System variables are inbuilt variables. We create only mapping variables and session variables. Okay, so inside the mapping to hide the hard-coded values, we use mapping variable, and inside the session to hide the hard-coded values or any confidential values, we use the session variable. Okay, so once we create a mapping variable, session variable, and then to assign the values to those variables, we create a parameter file. Inside the parameter file, we assign the value to the variable. Sorry, inside the, yeah, correct. Inside the parameter file, we assign the value to the variable. So after assigning the values to the variables, so what we do, we go to the session task. Inside the session task, inside the session task, we go here, and then inside the properties, we do have a property here, parameter file name. So in parameter file name, right side here, we can give the parameter file path and the file name. Okay, so in some companies, what they will do is instead of giving the parameter file path and the file name at session level, so we do have another option here. So if you go to the workflow tasks, not workflows, edit, and then properties, workflow, edit properties. Here also you can see the first property we have a parameter file name. Here also they will give the parameter file path and the file name. Okay, so if you see the parameter file path and the file name at workflow, under workflow, then you can say that workflow level parameter file. So if you see the parameter file inside the session task, then that would be a session level parameter file. So workflow level parameter file and the session level parameter file. So like that, we can give the parameter files inside the workflow or a session. Okay, when do we give the parameter file inside the session? When do we give the parameter file path at workflow? Means inside the workflow, currently we have only one session task. In some of the scenarios, inside one workflow, you will have multiple session tasks. Inside the workflow, suppose let's say here we have multiple session tasks like this. So we have connected one after the other. Okay. Something like this we have connected like this, there are multiple session tasks. So more than one session task if you have, instead of giving the parameter file path and the file name in each and every session task, okay, so the same parameter file will go here, edit, and then under properties we give the parameter file path and the file name. I repeat, if there are more than one session task, instead of giving the parameter file path and the file name at session level, so for all the three session tasks, we create one common parameter file, and that parameter file path and the file name we give here inside the workflow properties. Okay. Now here we have three parameter files. So how do we give the parameter files for those three? So if I open here parameter file, so you can see currently we have only this session task. Suppose let's say SCD type 2 param session task. Now here we have a SCD type 1 session task also we have. So for that session task also I want to pass the variable. So what you can do? So same way we can use the same parameter file to pass the values for the multiple session task. Let's say this is another mapping session, SCD type 1 mapping session. Okay, so under the same folder we have created SCD type 1, and then this is the SCD type 1 session task. Here also we can give the parameters and variables whatever we have used in the second session. Now you can see this parameter file we have used to assign the values for two mappings and the session tasks. Okay, two different session tasks. Like that, we can use one parameter file for n number of session tasks. For all the session tasks, if there are 100 session tasks also under one workflow, for all the session tasks like this, by differentiating each and every session task by giving the name like this, we can write multiple, 100 entries here for each and every session task and the corresponding mapping session, whatever the variables we have used. So like that, one by one, we can write if there is any third mapping, third session task, so I want to use assign the variable, then you can give here like this, the third one, whatever you have created like this. Okay, so like that, we can use one parameter file for all the session tasks. Okay, so if there are multiple workflows, multiple sessions under one workflow, instead of giving the parameter file at session level, we can go and give at workflow level. So here go to the properties, here we can view at workflow level. If you don't find the parameter file at session level, then you will find the parameter file at workflow level. Got it? Next. Another point which we have to remember here. So we have another, we have another way also to give the parameter file path and the file name. Okay. So one we have seen at session level, the other property we have seen at workflow level. So we have third property also to give the parameter file. So workflows edit. Okay, now you can see here we have configure concurrent execution. Workflow edit under general tab, we have configure concurrent execution. So if I enable this checkbox, now right side this button will get enabled. Configure concurrent execution. If I click on this button, you can see here also we have a parameter file, right? You can read the parameter file. So here currently we do not have any instances. So you can see here I will click this 2 times. Okay, suppose let's say here run instance. Okay, run instance 1, run instance 2. What it means? Now I am working for a I am working for a company. So in that company, okay, so we for that company there are multiple customers. Okay, so I am the IT company. So I have different customers. Like let's say for example, take the banking example. HDFC Bank is my customer. SBI Bank is my customer. Okay, so for these two customers, I have created one workflow and I want to run that workflow for two customers. Same workflow, same mapping, same session. I want to execute for two different customers. Okay, so what I will do here, I will give HDFC and here I will give SBI. Okay, so these two are the two different customers, and for HDFC customer, I have to create one parameter file, and for SBI customer, I have to create another parameter file. Same workflow, but the variables, whatever the variables, suppose let's say inside the mapping, I have used one variable, a $, bank name. Like that, I have created one variable. So when this workflow runs for HDFC instance, then that variable should get the value as HDFC. When the same workflow executes for SBI Bank, the $, bank name should get the bank name as SBI. So like that. So here, if you want to execute the same workflow at the same time parallelly for multiple customers, then we should have to give multiple parameter for each and every bank. We can give multiple parameter file. So one is you have to see the parameter file 100% in every project. This is parameter file will be there. Without parameter file, there will not be any mappings in real time. Okay, so definitely you will see the parameter file. So parameter file you can find either at session level or workflow level, or here under configure concurrent execution level, you can see the parameter file. Either of these three places you will find the parameter file, because we should know the parameter file path and the file name, because if there is any failure, we should know inside the mapping for those variables from where it is getting the values, whether whatever the parameter file is available in that parameter file, whether to that variable value is assigned or not. All these things we should know. Okay, that is the reason we should have to know the parameter file path and the file name. Okay, now let's say here I have two instances created. click on OK and apply OK. Okay, so after that, I want to run this workflow, same workflow for two customers. Okay, so for that, what we have to do, till now you are using start workflow option, right? We have start workflow advanced option here. Start workflow advanced means same workflow execute for multiple customers. Now you can see as soon as I click on start workflow, it is showing me, do you want to execute this workflow for these two customers, HDFC and SBI? If you click on OK, the same workflow will execute for two customers. Okay, so if I right click start workflow advanced, so this is very rare we use, not for every time, but just for knowledge we should have to know. Okay, or if this workflow I want to execute only for SBI customer, then you have to select clear all, and then you have to select only SBI and then click on OK. Then it will execute for only SBI customer. So if you want to run for both at a time, then if you select, then this, if you click on OK, as soon as we click on OK, that workflow will run parallelly at the same time for two different customers, and it will take the values from two different parameter files. One workflow will read the two parameter files data for each customer, but that is very rare we use. But most of the times you can see the parameter file at workflow level. That's it. Next, we'll move on to the another concept. Next, we have the CDC incremental load or delta. Okay. So we'll see what is that CDC. This is also a very important interview question. Okay, so they will ask, tell me what is CDC or incremental load or delta. Right. So before this, what we have to do is we should know the data flow, right? Okay, so in the data warehouse class, we discussed about the data flow, right? So how the data will flow? It will start from OLTP and then ODS and then stage and then data warehouse. After that, we will have the data marts. Got it? This is the data flow we discussed in the data warehouse session, right? Okay. So like that, the data will flow from one database to another database. So where we are going to create the mappings, under which database we create the mappings, where is our responsibility to create the mappings here? So where we create Informatica mappings? Between which database we create the mappings here? Any guess? No idea. I told right, this is a 100% interview question, so you should have to remember this. Where is our responsibility? Where we create the mappings here? No idea. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. In data warehouse, we are going to create the mapping.
Yeah, that's what, but where we create in data warehouse? Where is our responsibility here as Informatica developer? Where we create the mappings? I'm not sure why you don't remember. Even though after telling 100% interview question, such type of questions, if you don't remember, if you don't revise, then I don't know how you are going to attend the interview. This is a 100% interview question. Every interview they will ask this question. So I told right in the second our data warehouse second class itself, I have explained the data flow. There I told this is 100% interview question, the data flow. right? So this one I have explained. Where is our responsibility here? Again, I have to explain the data warehouse class. Okay. So data will flow from OLTP to ODS, ODS to stage, and stage to data warehouse to data mart. Like that, I explain the data flow, right? Okay. So here between OLTP to ODS, DBA team or PLSQL developer team, they will be creating the Oracle jobs to maintain the data in a sync between these two databases. And I explained different scenarios also here, right? 3-4 scenarios I have explained here as Informatica developer what we do here, right? So after that, once we have the data in ODS, we extract the data, transform and load into the staging. Why we have the staging area here? We do the data cleansing. If there are any incorrect records or invalid records coming from the ODS, before we load the data into the staging, so here we set all types of the validations. We'll check if there are any error records coming from the source. Then those records will load into the log table, and then actual records will load into the stage. You forgot everything. Here comes our responsibility, right? Between ODS to stage, we create the mappings, and then staging area to data warehouse. Here we create SCD type 2 mappings to maintain the historical data in the data warehouse. And then between data warehouse to data marts also we create the mappings. Okay, so you should have to do the revision from the beginning till you get the job. Otherwise, you will forget, you will remember only the previous class. In the first class, whatever we have learned, you will forget everything. Okay, so this data flow, whatever the diagram here I have shown, so this is 100% interview question. In the second question, tell me about yourself. Second question would be explain your project and the data flow or roles and responsibilities. For that, answer is this question. This is without this question, there is no interview, right? So even though if I tell like that, none of you have given the answer. So that means you can think where you are, how much of interest you have. Okay, so the data, this is standard data flow in every project. So whatever the domain it is, whatever the company or whatever the domain, so this is the standard data flow. So like that, different databases will be there. Data will flow from one database to another database. So I have explained in detail what is OLTP and what is ODS database. These two are the source databases from ODS. So we will not directly load the data into data warehouse. So we load the data from ODS to stage and stage to data warehouse and data warehouse to the data marts. Like that, the data will flow between these databases. As Informatica developer, we create Informatica mappings to extract, transform and load from ODS to stage and stage to data warehouse and data warehouse to data marts. In the last class, we discussed SCD type 2 mapping. So SCD type 2 mapping, here you can see between staging area to data warehouse, here we create SCD type 2. And between data warehouse to data marts, here sometimes we create SCD type 1 and sometimes we create SCD type 2. They will tell you what type of mapping we have to create. Okay, and here we create CDC or incremental loading. Today's class, we will discuss the mapping between ODS to stage. So even though if you don't remember what type of mappings we create, CDC or incremental load or SCD type 2, at least you should know. So what is our responsibility between the databases? So our responsibility would be creating the Informatica mappings, that is in development project. So if you have moved to the production support project, then so here I explained different scenarios. If there are any error records coming from the source, how we are going to fix those error records, those things I explained. Okay, please watch the data warehouse second class recording and try to recollect all those things. Okay, fine. So like that, the data will flow from one database to another database. So between OLTP to ODS, here DBA team will create they will be creating the jobs, and from ODS to stage we have to extract, transform and load the data. Stage to data warehouse we have to load the data. Okay, fine. Now today's date is 9/23, September 23. In ODS table there is a ODS database. In ODS there is a table called T1. Let's say we have got 3 records in ODS. Okay, and we have created Informatica mapping to extract these 3 records from ODS, transform and load these 3 records into the staging. Okay, so today we have created a mapping to load these 3 records from ODS to stage. Okay, our mapping has extracted these 3 records. All the records are valid and all the records loaded into the staging. Next, after successful of the execution of the ODS to stage mapping, we have created another Informatica mapping to extract the data from the stage, transform and load into the data warehouse. Okay, so forget about the data marts. Data marts we'll discuss later. So few companies will have the data marts, or but few companies will not have. But till data warehouse, every project will have the ODS stage and the data warehouse. Okay, so like that today we have got 3 records in the source database, which is ODS. So we created Informatica mapping to extract, transform and load into the staging. And again we extract data from stage, transform and load into the data warehouse. Today's load is done. Tomorrow again, tomorrow's date is 9/24. So tomorrow in the same source table, in ODS table, in the same table, we have got one new record inserted, and in the existing 3 records, one record got updated. Tomorrow, that is on September 24th. So one new record got inserted in the same ODS table. In the existing 3 records, yesterday for one of the employee address was HYD. Today we have got the latest address for that employee as USA. Okay, so that means, tell me, on 9/24 total how many records will be there in ODS? 9/24 total how many records will be there in ODS table? Okay, I repeat, on 9/23. Okay, so 9/23 there is a table in ODS. Inside the table we have got 3 new records. Okay, so as Informatica developer, we have created Informatica mapping to load these 3 records from ODS to stage database. Okay, mapping we have executed. That mapping has loaded these 3 records into the staging. And again, we have created another Informatica mapping to extract those 3 records, transform and load into the data warehouse. Okay, our mapping has extracted those 3 records and loaded those 3 records into the data warehouse. We know between stage to data warehouse we create SCD type 2 mapping. So SCD type 2 mapping, it has extracted these 3 records from stage, transform and loaded into the data warehouse. Okay, today's load is done, completed successfully. Next, tomorrow 9/24 September 24th, in the same ODS source table, one new record inserted. Okay, and in the existing 3 records, one record got updated. In the existing 3 records, one record got updated, which means on 9/24 total how many records are there in ODS table?
2 records.
Can you think once again?
2 records.
Any other answer? Others can unmute and give the answer. So you can see here, I'm not asking any complicated question. So just numbers, you just have to do calculation sum. If you don't know the 1 plus 2, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 4, then it's no use of attending the training. Just by seeing, you can give the answer. Think once again what I explained here now. So on 9/23, there are 3 records in the ODS. There is a table T1. Assume there is a table T1. In that T1 table, we have total 3 records. The same 3 records we have extracted, transform and load into the staging. And then from stage again we have extracted those 3, transform and loaded into the data warehouse. So on 923, okay, 923. So 3 records from ODS to stage we have loaded, and stage to data warehouse we have loaded. Okay, tomorrow on 924, we have got one new record in the source table, the same ODS T1 table, one new record inserted. In the existing 3 records, one record got updated. So which means on 924 total, how many records will be there in ODS table?
5 records.
4 records.
4 records.
4 records, right? So to do the sum, you took this much of time. So total 4 records will be there. How 4 records? Why not 2 records?
As we are using SCD2 type of mapping,
Forget about SCD2. Here there is no SCD2, SCD3, nothing. No SCD2, nothing. So simply count the numbers. Why 4 records? Why not 2 records? Still you don't know. Simply you said answer 4. Whoever have given the answer, you should have to give explanation also. Why 4? Why not 2? Why 4? Why not 2? No idea. Okay, see here. This is a ODS T1 table, right? Okay, here we have employee number, employee name, address. Okay, let's say here we have create date. Okay, and update date. Right? So in ODS T1 table, we have the data like this. On 923, 10A HYD created 923, 923. Okay, so like that, we have a first record, second record 2B BLR 923, third record 30 CCNI 923. So on 923 we have got total 3 records. Save all the 3 records. So the ODS to stage mapping will execute. It will extract these 3 records from ODS table, transform, and it will load these 3 records from ODS to stage. Okay, so let's say this is our staging table. Okay, so this is stage T1 table. So Informatica mapping it will extract these 3 records and it will load these 3 records into the staging. Okay, after loading these 3 records from ODS to stage on 923, how many records will be there in ODS? After loading 3 records from ODS T1 table to stage T1 table, how many records will be there in ODS T1 table?
Records.
How many records will be there in ODS T1? I want everyone unmute and give the answer, and I don't know why others are mute. Are they speaking or what they are doing? So we know, right? So even after load the data, you have created so many mappings till now. After loading the data from source to target table, how many records will be there in target? Are we going to have inside the source 0 records or 3 records?
3
records. We'll have 3 records. There is nothing to think there. Very simple questions I'll ask, right? So there is a simple mapping to load the data from source to target. Even after load the data from source to target, you'll have these 3 records. It will not be deleted, these 3 records. Okay, so we have 3 records and we have executed, and these 3 records extracted from ODS and loaded into the stage, and from stage to data warehouse loaded. Even though today's load completed, we'll have still 3 records here and 3 records here and 3 records in the data warehouse. Okay, tomorrow in the same ODS T1 table, we have got one new record inserted. 924 and 924. So this is what I explained, like one new record inserted on 924. And in the existing 3 records, one record got updated. Existing 3 means these are the existing 3. Out of these 3 records, one record got updated. Let's say this employee address got updated BLR to USA. So when it got updated, we have got the latest address on 924. Okay, so on 924, one new record inserted, one record got updated. So which means now on 924, total how many records are there in ODS T1 table? Do we have 2 records or 4 records here?
4 records.
4.
So we have 4 records, not the 2 records, right? So previous yesterday's 3 records and today's one new record inserted. The update happened in the existing 3 records. That's the reason we have, only 4 records, not the 2 records. Okay, so now we are clear. How many records are there in ODS on 924?
4 records.
We have 4 records. So even though we have 4 records, okay, now let's say on 924 end of the day, when I start execution of the mapping to load these 4 records from ODS T1 table, so our mapping will extract these 4 records and it will try to insert those 4 records into the stage database, right? ODS to stage mapping, if I execute, it will try to extract these 4 records, transform and load those 4 records into the stage database. But tell me, is it necessary to extract all the 4 records again from ODS, and is it necessary to load all the 4 records again to the stage T1 table?
No.
No. So if no, then how many records we have to extract from ODS T1 table? What are
Only
the records?
only one, who is the current one.
So how many records on 924 we have to select from ODS, and how many records we have to load into the stage table? Is it necessary to select all 4, or is it necessary to select only the specific rows? And if specific rows, what are the rows we have to select from ODS T1 table on 924 run?
We have to select the 2 rows for the employee number 10 and employee number 40.
Is it employee
and 40?
Is it employee number 10?
20. 20 and 40.
20. 20, sir.
20 and 40, right? So because this is called latest updated record, and this is called latest inserted record. So on 924, so the 20 is the latest updated record and the 40 is the latest inserted record. So, and for the 10 and 30, they are already there in the staging and there is no change, right? 10 and 30, we have already loaded the stage and stage 2 data warehouse. There is no change. Again, why do we have to select these 2 records 10 and 20? It is not required. So our mapping should select only 20 and 40 record. For the first time, there were 3 records and we extracted all the 3 records and we loaded all the 3 records to the target. And from second run, even though there are 4 records, we don't want to select all the 4 records from the ODS table to load again 4 records into the staging, because out of 4, few records already loaded in the last run. Okay, and today there are no changes for those records. And we have only changes for 2 records, which is employee number 20 latest address we have got on 924. That latest address records for employee number 20 we have not loaded into the stage or in the data warehouse. And also employee number 40, in the previous run it was not there. So today only we have got that record, latest record. So that's the reason in today's run we have to select out of 4 only 2 records. Employee number 20 and 40, these 2 records we have to select in today's run. Okay, and then suppose let's say our mapping, whatever we have created between ODS to stage, that mapping has selected these two records, 20 and 40. Okay, before it loads those 20 and 40 record in the staging, what do we have to do for this existing 3 records in the stage database? So stage database, we load the data to do the data validation, to check whatever the records coming from the ODS, they are valid or not, or if there are any error records. So for that purpose only, to do the data validation and to fix the incorrect records, we have the staging. But in the previous run, none of the it didn't fail, and all the 3 records loaded from ODS to stage T1 table, and from stage we have loaded into the data warehouse. If we have loaded all the 3 records in the previous run in the data warehouse, so what is the use of keeping these 3 records here in the stage database? So if you keep these 3 records in the stage database, again whatever the 2 records we have got today, if you are going to insert those 2 records also into the stage T1 table, and then in the stage table, and in stage table you will have previous day, previous run records also, and today's run records also. You will have 3 plus 2, 5 records you will have in the stage T1 table. Then it will become history. So in stage, we know we don't want to maintain the history. We load the data only to check whether whatever the data coming from the source, it is valid or not. So if it is not valid, then we will fix it in stage, and then we load into the data warehouse. Once we have loaded the data in the data warehouse, it is not necessary to keep these 3 records in the stage table. So that is the reason every time before we load the data from ODS to stage T1 table, always stage table should be truncate. Truncate means all the rows should be deleted permanently. That is called truncate. So always we should have to truncate the stage T1 table, and our mapping should extract these 2 latest records from ODS, and it should have to insert these 2 records into the stage table. So like that, so it should have to insert these 2 records into the stage. Understand? In the first run, what we did in the previous day, we got 3 records in the source, and we inserted those 3 records into the staging, right? So we got 3 records, we inserted those 3 records in the staging. Okay, and then today we have got 1 new record inserted, and the existing record, 1 record got updated. Okay, and then even though there are 4 records, we have to extract only latest inserted and latest updated records. And before we load those latest inserted, latest updated records, again we have to truncate the stage T1 table, and then we have to insert those 2 latest records into the staging. Got it? Is it clear how we maintain the data between ODS to stage? Okay, and one more point, this is also 100% interview question. Okay, so there are common interview questions in Informatica. Informatica is a small tool. We have a, as I told you, this is only 1 month course, right? Okay, so many of the scenarios, whatever here I'm explaining, they are very, very important for interview. Not only interview, in real time also, every project you will see in the previous class, whatever we discussed, type 2, and then parameter files, and this CDC, this we called it as a CDC concept between ODS to stage. This is also every project, wherever you go, you will see this type of mapping. If you understand the concept, doesn't matter how many rows are there, but you should have to understand what is meant by CDC or incremental load or delta. So CDC or incremental load or delta mean, for the first time we should have to extract all the records from the source, and all the records we should have to insert into the target. So this CDC mainly we implement between ODS to stage. Okay, so for the first time we load all the records from ODS to stage. This is called full load. And in the second run, okay, so if there are any new record inserted, and if there are any in the existing records, if there are any updates, then even though there are millions of records in the source, doesn't matter you have 4 records or 40 million records also you have, you should have to extract, and that means the mapping should extract only the latest inserted and latest updated records, and those latest inserted, latest updated records, before it loads into the staging, it should have to truncate all the records into the staging and load means insert these records into the staging, that is called CDC or incremental load or delta. Okay, this is also another 100% interview question. Okay, so many of the interviews they have asked, tell me what is CDC or incremental load or delta, how you have implemented in my project. Whatever the explanation I have given, the same explanation you have to give in interview. Got it? In real time also we do the same thing. Okay, so what we have to do now, we will see how to create a mapping for this. One second. Okay, so like that, here while extracting the data from source ODS to stage, we have to extract only load the staging, the latest records. Okay, fine. Now let's say we have got these 2 records in the second run on 9/24th. We have got these 2 records into the staging. Okay, so stage 2 data warehouse. Here we have STD type 2 mapping. Okay, so whereas here ODS to stage, we create CDC or incremental load mapping. So just now we discussed what is meant by CDC or incremental load, how it will load the data into the staging. Stage 2 data warehouse, in the last class also practically I have shown you how SCD type 2 will maintain. Okay, now you have to tell me, so in stage on 9/24 we have got these 2 records. So what we did here, so on 9/24 before we load the data, we have truncated the stage, and these 2 records we have inserted into the staging. Latest inserted and latest updated, these 2 records we have got into the staging. Now tell me, if I execute stage 2 data warehouse mapping, which is SCD type 2 mapping, what this mapping will do for these 2 records in the data warehouse. Which record will be inserted into the data warehouse on 9/24 and which record will be updated to the data warehouse on 9/24 out of these 2 records from stage 2 data warehouse. Any idea? On 9/24 we have got 2 records in the staging, 20 and 40, employee number 20 and employee number 40. So for these 2 records, SCD type 2 mapping, what it is going to do, how it will insert or update inside the data warehouse. Any guess? Some of you have created a SCD type 2 mapping, right? You have shared the screenshots also. You can give the answer, what it is going to do for these 2 records in the data warehouse. Because you have created the mapping practically and you have seen.
For the employee 20, it will update the record and it will go to the strategy and it will update the record.
Wait, hold on. We'll go one by one. So tell me for employee number 40 first, what it is going to do.
It will insert the new record because it is a new record.
Perfect. So it will insert that new record because in the previous one it was not there. So data warehouse also, that employee number 40 does not exist. That record will be inserted. While inserting that record, so effective start date will be the system date, end date will be the future date. Like that, it will be inserted for employee number 40 into the data warehouse. Done. Okay. How about employee number 20 record? What is going to do for employee number 20?
Since it is updated, it will go to the update strategy and it will update the record.
40% correct, 60% wrong. Okay, what it is going to do for employee number 20? Can you think once again and give the answer? Others also, if you know, you can give the answer what it is going to do for employee number 20. In the last class I have shown you practice, even though if you didn't practice, in the last class I have shown you practically. What it is going to do for employee number 20 in data warehouse mapping, SCD type to mapping.
It will not update the record. It will create a new record. The record and it will update the record.
Okay, can you repeat again?
It will not delete the existing. It will create a new record with the updated data.
It will create a new record. So before creating the new record, what it will do? Imran, any idea?
Before updating the employee number 20, for the employee number 10, it will be update by date by the system date.
No,
It will be
no,
inactive. Then the
no,
20 will be
no. Why it will do? Why it will touch employee number 10? For which record we have got update? Why it will touch employee number 10 record in the data warehouse? There itself, wrong answer. So we have got employee number 20, not the employee number 10. In the last class, that scenario, employee number 10, we have got an update. Okay, but now today we have got employee number 20. We have got the latest address for employee number 20. So what it is going to do for this employee number 20 record in the data warehouse? No idea. Elaya, Prague, Marat. At least you can give the answer. So for this, you no need to practice. In the last class, last to last class, 2 classes, we were discussing the same thing. That's the reason I am asking this many times. And in the last class, I have shown you practically also how it will be maintaining the target. SCD type to mapping I have executed and I have shown you the practically. Still you don't remember what it will do for the next time. And also I have told that also 100% interview question. What it will do if the record already exists and if there is a change between source and target record.
Update
Update
in update
what?
to change to the address in the router.
No, wrong answer.
Sir, it may inactive create a new record as an active record and existing record as an inactive record.
Yeah, perfect. Once again, repeat.
It will create a new record as an active record.
So before creating the new record, what it will do first?
First, it will inactive. I mean, it will.
Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
It will inactive.
Inactive the existing record. So for that inactive, what it will do?
Here it may change the.
What it will do to inactivate? Ali, any idea? You also created the mapping, right? So if you have practiced, you should know, you should not forget. Then what is the use of practicing? Yes, Satya, go ahead. So for to do the to inactivate that record, what it is going to do, how it will inactivate? Yes, first it will inactivate the existing record, and then it will create a new record, right? So to inactivate, what it will do in the data warehouse?
Is null.
At least you can create, see whatever you have created in your system.
To inactive the record, we have to do end date with the update the end date with the system date.
Yes, correct. Okay, so what it will do, it should have to update the end date with the system date. So you told that it will update the employee number 10 record end date with the system date. It is not employee number 10. So we are talking about employee number 20 here. So it will
Yes,
update the number.
employee number 20 end date to the system date.
Yeah, so it will update the employee number 20 record already present, and there is a change. In the previous one, the address was the HYD, and currently we have got USA. So the source record already present, and there is a change between source and the target record. So if there is a change, then what it will do? It will perform two steps, right? So here I have told, you should not forget what are the two steps. Can you read this? These two steps. Whenever there is a change, what it will do? The answer is these 2 points. So you should never forget these 2 points. So if there is a change between source and target, SCD type 2, what it will do? Can you read these 2 points? What is the first point here we have?
First, we have to update the active record
We are
where
not going to update. The mapping will update. We will not be update.
Yeah.
Mapping will update. Okay, so mapping will update. Can you read this?
update active record EED with the syst date to make the
EED means effective end date. Not
effective end date with the system
we
date.
should not say in interview EED. So we should have to say the full answer. Effective end date with the system date.
To make inactive.
And then
Insert the source latest updated record into the target table.
Right. So we have seen practically how it will update and insert if the record already present in the target. So why I'm asking to read these two means you have to repeat these 2 points again in interview. Okay, so if you forgot this one, then it's no use. So if you have not created the SCD type 2 mapping, and if you don't tell these 2 points in interview, then it's no use. Okay, so you have to read these 2 points 100 times after this class. I'm sure you will not read, you will never remember these two, right? So even after telling these many times, it's very important for interview, you guys are not able to remember. Okay, so you should not forget. So parallelly, so not only the previous class, whatever the homework I have given, so you have to do the revision from the beginning. Whatever the important interview questions I have told during the class, so you have to highlight and then you have to do the revision. So if you do like that without any support, without any help, I'm sure in the first interview itself, you will get shortlisted. Okay, so without remembering, without practicing, if you attend 100 interviews also, it's no use. Right? So every day you have to spend 2 to 3 hours of time. There is no excuse in that. And you should have to do the revision, and at the same time, you have to complete the previous class. Okay. So here what it will do is, if the source record already present for employee number 20, since the stage 2 data warehouse SCD type 2 mapping we have seen practically. So if the source record already present, for the active record effective end date, it will update with the system date. and then it will insert the source latest updated. We have to say it will not create a record. We have to say it will insert the source latest updated record into the target table. The terminology is very important. So if you say create also, you know what it is going to do, but the meaning will change. It will not give the proper answer. So you have to use the same terminology. Okay, like that you have to prepare. Fine. So now we know how the data will flow from ODS to stage and stage to data warehouse. Let me show you the CDC practically now. Okay, so here I have the CDC mapping. So to implement or to select the latest inserted or latest updated records from the source, we have multiple approaches to implement this CDC. One of the approach is control table approach. So control table approach means apart from the source and target table, this is a source table and this is the target table. In the control table approach, apart from the source and target table, we'll have control table. Okay, this is a control table. We called it as a control table. In control table, we'll have two columns. These are the major columns. We can have another create date, update date columns also. So one is SSD. SSD means session started date column will be having, and then the target table name. In session start date, we'll have to insert some past date, some 1950 date, some old date we have to insert for the first time in the control table. And then the target table name. So whichever we have the target table in our mapping which we are going to use, the same target table name we have to use here. Okay, so like that. So for the first time we should have total 3 tables. Let me show you here. I have created the tables. EMP_CDC_, yes, this is our source table. I have inserted some 10 records. Okay, and then let me, here it is showing only date and time. Okay, let me change this to display time also. So if you want to change the format of the date here in the SQL developer, so again I will show you. If you want to change the format of the, here it is not showing 4 digits. Okay, so this has changed, my system has changed. So I have to change the settings here. Go to the tools, preferences, and here you have to set the database. Under that you have NLS. So in NLS you can see date format DD, MM, RR we have, right? So here you can use YYY or 4 hours. Okay, and then there is the date format. Time format, DDMM. So if you give MON, then it will display the month, because it will display like this. So we have got date. Okay, so fine, let it be. We'll have this date, later we'll see. So initially you can create a table, source table with the employee number, employee name, address, create date, update date. So here create date, update date, you can insert some specific date, or you can have the sys date also here. Then target table, this is my target table, and here we don't have any data. With the same columns I have created the target table also. Apart from this we have the control table, CT. Okay, so here I have some past date, 1947 or 1950 date we have here. So any date we can have. Some old date we should have here, and the target table name, like that. With 2 columns you can create a table and insert the record like this. Okay, so once the tables are ready, then so here it's a very simple mapping. We just have to import the source definition, target definition, and then give the link from source qualifier to the target. and it is 1 to 1. So we just have to map each and every source column to the target column. Okay, and then we have inside the source qualifier, we know SQL query, pre-SQL, post-SQL we have. In SQL query, you have to write a query like this: select star from this source table where update date greater than, here inner query. This is called subquery, query within a query. So within brackets, if you have the query, then this is called subquery. Okay, so select star from the source table where update date greater than, and then select a session start date from the control table. This is control table. From this control table, it should have to select the date, and then from this control table where target table name is equal to, within single quotations, we have to write like this. So here, even though if you don't write where clause, it will work fine. Okay, because we have only one record in that control table. If there are many records, then we should have to write where clause. So like that, this query will take care every time to extract only the latest inserted and latest updated records from the source. Okay, and then pre-SQL, post-SQL. In post-SQL, at the end of the execution, it will execute the query. Post-SQL, at the end of the execution, it will execute update query. Got it? Okay, so it will update the control table. Session started with the system date where target table name is this. So like that, let's say we have created the mapping session workflow and we have started execution. As soon as we start execute, so first, we have the query here, SQL query. So in SQL query, we have two select statements here, right? So the second select statement we have within brackets, right? So the second select statement we have within brackets, so that we called it as a inner query or subquery. What we call that one? Inner query or subquery. Like that, we have two select statements. Then the second select statement, if you have in a bracket, we called it as a subquery or inner query. So if you have like this, always the inner query will execute first. Inner query means within brackets, whatever the query we have, that query will execute first. Inner query or subquery we call it as. So subquery will execute first before execution of the outer query. Okay, so subquery, what it will do, select a session started from the control table. In the control table, we have the session start date is 1950 date. So inner query output is 1/1/1950. This is the inner query output. So this inner query output, it will pass as a input to the outer query. So this is outer query. First select statement, we called it as a outer query. Okay, second select statement, we called it as inner query. First select statement, we called it as a outer query. So inner query output will pass as an input to the outer query. Now in the outer query, select a star. Star means all the columns from EMP CDC. Yes means this is the source table where update date greater than this date. So update date. So what is the update date for the first record we have here? 10/3/2020, right? So like that we have 10/3/2020 date we have here is greater than 1/1/1950. Tell me, is this condition true or false? 2020 greater than 1950? 2020 greater than 1950 or not? True, right? Okay, so it is true. Since a condition is true, then what it will do is it will condition will satisfy and source qualifier query will set the first record. For the second record also same date we have 10/3/2020. Second record also condition will satisfy or not? Yes, right. Third record also we have 2020 date 10/3/2020. So for the third row also we have the same date. So 10/3/2020 greater than 1/1/1950 condition true or false? True, right? Okay, so this condition is satisfied for all the three records. Since the condition is satisfied for all the records, so it will extract these three records and it will insert all the three records. That's what we discussed earlier. For the first time, we have got three records. All the three records it has extracted and all the three records loaded into the target. Now let's say this is a ODS table and this is a staging table. So for the first day, we have got three records. All the three records inserted inside the stage table. then post SQL query will execute. So post SQL query, it will update the session started with the system date in the control table. So here the system date will be like this. Okay. So now the time here is 23/9/2022 and the timestamp 7:40 a.m. Right? This is the time now here. Okay, so like that it will update the date and time in the control table. Got it? So after updating the date and time in the control table, today's load is done. So execution succeeded. Okay, next up. Before we execute second time, we will insert one new record in the source table and we will update one record in the existing table. So for here we have got DEL. Let me reduce the font size. Okay. Okay, so here for D. Okay, so new record inserted DEL and today's date is 23/9/2022 and the time here 7:41 and then some seconds, like let's say 32 seconds AM. So like that one new record inserted and update date also will be remain same. Okay, so before we execute second run, one new record inserted in the existing source in that same table, and so we are going to update one record. So let's say this employee, he has moved to, how come I have updated to 742 here? It is 741 only, no? You didn't tell. Okay, so here now we have 741. So 4D DEL, and then we have 741, and this is also 7. Let's say at 741 we have inserted the new record. Okay, and after inserting the new record, we have updated the existing record. So this employee number 2, he has moved to USA. Okay, and update date we will update here. So update date here. So we'll be updating the system date. Today we have got 23. Okay, 9/2022 and the time here 7:42. Okay, some 40 seconds AM. So like that, before we start execute second time, in the source table we have got one new record inserted and the existing 3 records, 1 record got updated. Okay, total there are 4 records now. Out of 4 records, so mapping should extract only 2 records, latest inserted and latest updated records. Okay, we have started execution of this mapping second time. So before we execute second time, as I told you, we should have to truncate and load. For the truncate target table option we have to enable, so that these 3 records will be deleted from the target table, which is the staging table, because those 3 records we have already loaded into the data warehouse. Next, so this SQL query will execute. First, select the session started from the control table. So this is the session started from the control table here. So this is the output of the inner query. This is the output of the inner query. Okay, this output will pass as the input to the outer query. Select a star from the source table where update date greater than. So what is the update date for the first record? We have 2020 date. So 2020 date greater than 2022 date. Is this condition true or false? 2020 greater than 2022?
False.
False. Since the condition false, it will not be extracted this record. It will leave that record. Next, for the second record, we have 20 same date. We have 2022 and we have a time also 7:42. We have 7:42 minutes. Yeah, so since the date is same, we have to go for timestamp. Time also our same. Next we have to go for minutes. Minutes, here we have 42 minutes, whereas here we have 40 minutes. 42 greater than 40, condition true or false?
True.
True.
True. Since the condition true, now the source qualifier query has satisfied the condition for the second record, which is latest updated record. Now this query will be extracted the second record from the source. How about third record? Third record we have 2020 date only. 2020 greater than 2022 false. It will not extract. How about the fourth record? Fourth record date is same, but the time here we have 741. Okay, 741 greater than 740. Yes, true. Condition true. Right? So 741 greater than 740 condition true. So it has satisfied the condition for the fourth record also. Now the source qualifier query has satisfied the condition for the second record and the fourth record. The second record and the fourth record will be extracted, and these two records will be inserted like this in the target table. Okay, second and fourth record will be inserted inside the target table like this. And at the end of the execution, again this session started will be updated with the system date along with the timestamp. Now see, even though there are 4 records, this CDC mapping has extracted only the latest inserted or latest updated record. Doesn't matter you have 4 records or 4 million records also you have. This mapping, the logic, the query, whatever we have written, that will select only the latest inserted and latest updated records. And out of these 2 records, fourth record will be inserted into the data warehouse, and the employee number 2 record effective end date will be updated with the system date to make the record inactive, and then this latest updated record will be inserted inside the data warehouse. So like that the data will flow from ODS to stage and stage to data warehouse. The link, you should not miss the sequence between ODS to stage and stage to data warehouse. Okay, fine. Next. So this is how it will maintain the historical data. So I have already created the mapping, and I'll just execute and show you how it will work. So this is the CDC mapping. So after creating the source and target tables like this, you have to import the source and target. Inside the source qualified transformation properties, you have to write a query like this. So this is the outer query, and within brackets you have to write a inner query like this. And then after this we have to create a session and workflow. Session task for this I have created CDC underscore yes. Let me give the connections here. So if you are seeing that red dot means that is invalid session. So we have to check the connections, apply, okay, save. Now there is no red dot. So we'll go to the workflow, and here workflow CDC underscore yes underscore T. Okay. So still if you see red mark, validate. Save. So like that, here we have the same. So you know how to create mapping session workflow, everything. And just start execute. As soon as I click on start execute, it is running now. It has failed. If it has failed, hit run properties. Okay, so we have to see the error message why it has failed. Okay, so unsupported format. So you can see here the error message. So while practicing, you also, if there is any error, so you have to open the failure information and see the error. Unsupported conversion of the column create date. So I think looks like here we have the timestamp. Okay, so whereas in my table, I have to see the data type what I have given timestamp or a date. TVSC. So I have changed the system. That's the reason maybe. So here you can see the data type is a date, whereas here I have given the timestamp. That's the reason. Here also we have got the data type as a date. Here also we have got the date. Since the data type I have given date, I have to change it to timestamp. Okay. So what we will do? We will drop the table and we will recreate the table. So what I will do quickly, I will drop this table. So before dropping the table, I will take the backup, create table emp cdc s1, okay, as select star from this table. So I'll just take the backup of this table before I drop. So I have created CDC S1 table as my backup table, and then I will drop this table, table name. So I have dropped the table. Now in the same way, I'll also drop the target table. I have dropped the source and target tables. Okay, I will recreate the source table now. So to create a source table, so create CDC yes. Okay. So here we should have to give like this: employee number data type, employee name, varchar 2 of 10. Okay, and then we have the address data type, varchar 2 of 10. Okay, and then we have created. Okay, created sys timestamp, not sys timestamp, only timestamp data type. Instead of date, we have to give the timestamp. Update date, we have to give the data type as timestamp. So like that, we can create a source table, also target table created. So now the source table is ready, target table is ready, but there are no records in the source table. Now we will insert the records inside the source table. Okay, so insert into table name values as select star from emp underscore cdc underscore s1. Nine rows inserted, you can see here. So I have taken the backup table. From that table, again instead of preparing a 9 insert statement, I have taken the copy from this table and inserted in this table and then commit. Okay, now the source table will have the timestamp also. Now you can see we have got timestamp also here, because the data type earlier it was date. So now I have changed it to the timestamp. So that's the reason we have got date and time. But here in timestamp we have so many zeros. Okay, we can change the format. So we just need there only timestamp format. Here we have to specify. We can remove this FF. So we need hour, minutes, seconds. Okay, so in the same way, hour, minutes, seconds. So like that we have to change, so that we can see here only hour, minutes, seconds. That's it. So like that we can change the settings to get the date in a specific format. Okay, so target table will have, and not sure how the table data type. So control table, to see the data type we have to write a query DESC, so that it will display. Here also we have the date. It should not be the date, it should be timestamp. Okay, so let me drop this control table also. Drop table name. So this one I have dropped, and I will recreate the table. Okay, so create table emp cdc underscore ct. Okay, and then here we have to write ssd timestamp. Okay, and then target table name ttn. So varchar 2 10. Okay, so like that we have to create a table, and then some past date record we have to insert like this. Insert into emp cdc ct. Okay, and then values. Then here you have to insert the values like some past date. So as I told you, whenever we have a requirement to insert a date, we have to use toDate function. Okay, so for the first time we can insert like this. So some 1/1/1950 date we can insert. Okay, so mm/td/yyyy. Okay, so this is our first column name SSD, and then target table name So in our mapping, we have EMP CDC underscore T is our target table name. This is how we have to write a query. One row inserted, commit complete. Okay. So with that, our source and target tables are ready. Target table, we have 0 records. Control table, if you see for the first time, we'll have a past date. Begin by it is showing 2 digits. Here we have got 2 digits. Okay, so here we have 2 hours. Okay, so that's so here you can see we have got in here now 4 digits, and control table also we have got for some 1950 date. Okay, timestamp we have not given, but automatically it has taken 12 AM. That's it. So now it is ready to execute. Now I am going to execute this one. Right click, start workflow. As soon as I click on start workflow, this time it will execute, and you can see it got succeeded. If you click on task view, you can see here our session, it got succeeded, and source and target statistics. There are 9 rows in my source table, all the 9 rows inserted inside the target table. So target table is this, and you can see all the records we have got. So now what I am going to do, before I start execute second time, I will insert one new record in the source table. Okay, so and also we can observe here control table after first run, you can see we have got the system date. We inserted 1950 date, but here we have got the system date. So as I told you, end of the execution, PostgreSQL query will execute, right? So that's the reason we have got a session started as a system date here. Okay, and before I execute second time, I will insert one new record in the source table, and in the existing 9 records we have here, I will update one record. First, I will insert one new record, insert into EMP CDC underscore yes values. Okay, 10. We have employee number till 9, so that's the reason I have given 10. Okay, and then okay, so here we have. So like that we can give the employee name and then address AUS, and then sys timestamp. Okay, so to get the system date and time, so we have to use the sys timestamp like this, and update it also we have to load the sys timestamp. This is how you have to insert one new record. After inserting, we have to execute commit, and to see the new record what we have inserted. So here you can see we have got the 10th record in our source table. Now in the existing records, I will update one record address. So employee number to address, I will update USA, and also I will update the timestamp. So update EMP CDC underscore yes. Okay, set address is equals to USA. Okay, and also we have to update the update date is equal to this timestamp. Okay, where employee number is equal to 2. So like that, if you write a query, one row it will be updated, and then commit executed. Now in the source table, if you observe, before we start execute, I have inserted one new record. This is the new record, and one record I have updated. So 23 today's date we have here, right? So even though there are 10 records, if I execute my CDC mapping, it should have to select only 2 records, and those 2 records only it should have to load into the target table. Before it loads those 2 records into the target table, here at session level, I have enabled the truncate target table option, right? So before loading, if you want to delete, you have to enable this truncate target table option. Then only it will delete all the records, right? So now let me start execute second time. If I start execution of workflow second time, you can see here, see how many records it has extracted from the source. Is it extracted all the 10 records? No. Out of 10 it has extracted only 2. Like that, if you have millions of records also, if only 2 records are latest inserted, latest updated, only those 2 records only it will extract, and those 2 records only it will insert into the target. Now here target table, if you see this time you will have only 2 records. See, latest inserted and latest updated record. So this is the one which I have inserted newly in the source table before I execute second time. That record it has inserted, and this record also it has inserted inside the staging. This is called staging table now. So from ODS we have extracted and loaded these two records to the staging. Now this is the source table for the SCD type 2 mapping. SCD type 2 mapping in real time, it will extract the data from this staging table, and employee number 10 it will be inserted. Employee number 2 it will update the end date with the system date, and then it will insert the latest updated record into the target. So that's how the data will flow from source to the destination data warehouse. This is how we have to implement SCD type 2. That's it. Okay, that's all for the day. We will stop here today. You can practice this CDC and then we'll continue tomorrow. Fine, thanks.
Thank you, sir.